My name is Jonathan Rubens. I'm an attorney in San Francisco, California, where I've been practicing for more than 20 years. The work I do is focused on representing business owners, entrepreneurs, and investors. I work with them on general corporate matters, a variety of business transactions, with a real focus on mergers and acquisitions, primarily sell-side M&A, helping people sell their companies. I work on deals in the small to lower middle market space, primarily sell-side, as I said, occasionally working with buyers on the buy side. And I think my special sauce in what I do is I help business principals really understand the process, and I take them through it from soup to nuts. I help them hire other professionals, including bankers and consultants. I help them get a deal, negotiate M&A agreements, and close their transactions. Really, originally, like many lawyers, I knew some lawyers. I was interested in going to law school. I liked the idea of being a lawyer and the legal practice. I
Mm.
liked the academic side of it. I liked the study of it. But once I became a lawyer and tried to figure out what I really wanted to do as a lawyer, I was drawn to people who create things, who set up businesses. I spent a lot of time working with startups, getting to know entrepreneurs and principals and owners and families who run businesses. And really, for me, the exciting part is, first of all, understanding what it is they've built or are building, helping understand their vision, and then helping them achieve their transactions. So really what drew me to the practice is the individual nature of each family, each owner, each principal, and each company, and getting to understand a new story each time I work with them. And the variety of my practice is the best part. So while I do a lot of enterprise software, and right now there's a lot of AI startups, each business story is totally different. And I've worked with many different industries in many different sectors. I try to focus on risk. And what's most important to me is that my clients understand the risks
Mm.
of each of the different paths we could take. So I want them to understand a legal problem in terms of what the choice is that's in front of them, how to address the problem, the possible ways to resolve it. There's usually more than one way to resolve a legal issue. Not always. Sometimes it's very cut and dry, but very often we have choices to make about how we're going to proceed. And I want my clients to really understand and appreciate the risks of the different choices. That said, I try to be the lawyer that gives them guidance and suggests which way we should go, not just say, it's this or it's this, it's up to you to decide. No, I give my clients guidance and recommendations on which path to choose. I think the number one way it's shaped the practice is that I try to be mindful of not inundating clients with excess material, excess documents, excess information. Business owners want to know what to do next, which way to go, what the risks are, and then proceed. They don't want to be inundated with long, lengthy analytical memoranda or other materials that they might find unnecessary. They want guidance and they want help moving forward. So I try to keep those kinds of principles in mind every time I work with a business owner. There's several ways that I can answer that. First, as a lawyer, we want to know the potential pitfalls in an exit plan even before another party's involved. And what I mean by that is if I'm representing a business that's seeking to be acquired, I want to help them identify early on some of the ways in which a potential acquirer will have concerns about their business. We want to identify as soon as we can, very early, the potential problematic areas of their business, the areas that may need to be addressed before a buyer is at the table with them, and help them be as proactive as possible in approaching the market. So That's one of the ways. Another way is, as a lawyer, we can help them think about post-exit issues. So we want, first of all, we want our sellers to have in mind the best possible exit planning in terms of their tax position and their post-exit life. So that means making sure we work closely with tax specialists and estate planning specialists, really even before a deal is done, so that our sellers are well advised about how to position themselves, their families, their own post business life in a in the most efficient way. Third, we also help our businesses think about what they might want to do next. So we don't want sellers to negotiate a transaction, close it, and then know not where to go. So if sellers have, a certain thing that they want to do next, we want to make sure our deal is structured properly so that they can be well positioned to do that, whatever it may be. That may involve estate planning, working with partners who can do that kind of work with them. It may involve setting up another entity that they can use to do the next phase of what they have in mind. But as a lawyer, we can help think of all these kinds of structures and address these issues. And we like to address them early rather than later so that our clients are really well positioned when they go into a transaction. One of my concerns is always that business owners may be waiting too late in the process to work with professionals. For example, their business may have certain issues that have gone unaddressed and they may know about that, but they're waiting to see whether they have a deal in place before they do something about it. It
Mhm.
could be buttoning up some employment law compliance. It could be dealing with an outstanding minor, though important tax issue. I said minor, though important. Let's revise that. It may be dealing with a tax issue that they know they should deal with, but they've been putting it off.
Mhm.
It may be concluding a contract negotiation. They're not sure whether they should really deal with that contract until they know whether or not they're going to sell the company. So and this is often a concern. We want to make sure that the target company and its owners have really addressed as many things as they can before they negotiate a deal with a buyer so that they can obtain the highest value possible for their company and their deal. And so they can avoid having so they can avoid having buyers spend unnecessary time asking about risks that we know can be mitigated. I think that a lot of business owners think the lawyers are purely scriveners. We're there to draft the purchase agreement and maybe not that much more. But really, we want our business owners who are sellers to understand that we also help them identify risks that a deal could go sideways and maybe not even close, even before an agreement has been drafted. That means identifying problems with the company that buyers may take issue with, things about the company that buyers may describe as a problem, or things that could depress value, where we may have opportunities to correct those things before we get to a purchase agreement. Also, our work is not done when we finish drafting the purchase agreement. Usually, in most deals, there's post-closing work that has to be done, and the lawyers are essential to help the clients navigate through those post-closing issues. Those include things like finalizing purchase price adjustments.
Mhm.
Most M&A deals have a post-closing process in which there's a true up or some recalculation of the purchase price, which involves trading money one way or the other. There are also often things like earnouts or contingent payments that happen after closing. Those need to be properly documented. And sometimes there's disputes about when, whether, or how they're paid out. And then finally, there can be other things that are important to sellers post-closing, like what the role of that individual is with a buyer company, or how they're going to still deal with the post-closing process that I just described. That could be collecting post-closing payments. It could be responding to post-closing claims from a buyer, claim seeking indemnification, things like that. So there's a lot more to it than simply negotiating and drafting the purchase agreement. I would say do some kind of legal audit of your company before you sit down with prospective buyers or even with an investment bank to talk about taking your company to market. By that, I mean, by doing some kind of legal audit, I mean, sit down with a lawyer and talk about the legal health of your company. Do you have any outstanding employment or HR related legal concerns? Are there claims that are currently unaddressed? Are there any problems with vendors or customers that could rise to the level of a contract dispute that are unaddressed? Are there relationships that are not fully documented? And maybe even most important of all, is your ownership of your company well documented and clean, or are there incomplete records about the ownership? Any or all of those things could create substantial problems, or at the very least, suppress the value of the company when sellers sit down with prospective buyers. I can think of several responses, several examples of exactly that. Um, First, at XPX NorCal, I really enjoy and appreciate the format that we've selected for our gatherings. We have had really top-notch presentations from industry experts about things ranging from deal tax structure to post-deal estate planning issues to quality of earnings preparation. And each time we've followed our panel presentations with small breakouts in which attendees, members and guests, have an opportunity to really engage with each other and discuss further the topic at hand, usually with real life examples of things that our members and guests have encountered. And it's a great opportunity to really sound out others on issues that one might encounter in the real world. So I really like that the best about that way that we're running things at XPX NorCal. I can think of some specific examples of stuff, of things that we've looked at, of presentations we've had where I've taken it back to my own practice. For example, we had a terrific presentation from some tax and estate planning specialists on some real life strategies that sellers can use, perhaps setting things up before they go into a transaction, and certainly things to structures to have in place following a transaction for optimum uh, tax advantage and positioning themselves well in their post-transaction life. I've taken some of those ideas about certain kind of trust structures and other issues that come up with the IRS back to my own clients and make sure that we think about them and talk about them further as we go into the planning process. XPX is not only a place to network with or share a drink with another M&A lawyer, investment banker, tax specialist. It's a place where you really can forge a relationship with those people and actually get a sense of what it's like to work with them. Really, because we focus on knowledge sharing and building a community around actual knowledge sharing and real life examples of deals and issues that come up in transactions, it creates an opportunity to understand how people work, what it
Mm.
might be like to work with them on deals, and it gives you a better sense of how you might partner with others. So that's really what I like best about XPX and what I think its special sauce is. I have to get some exercise, and this time of year, I'm always thinking about the snow and skiing, like many of us in the Bay Area. I've just been disappointed about the lack of snow all across the Western US, while the East Coast is experiencing record precipitation. Nevertheless, I was just up at Mammoth Mountain And I skied for 5 days, which was fantastic. And it was spring skiing in January, but it was great. And I do that every year. And I try to get away several times through the winter. When I'm at home, I'm a runner and a cyclist, like many of us around the Bay Area. And I love getting out to the mountains around the Bay Area, particularly in Marin, where I live, and all around the Bay Area. And I feel so fortunate to live in a place where the outdoors is so accessible. Well, I'll share something personal and not so intellectual, which is that I'm a baker, and I've been gluten-free for about 10 years. And several years ago, I vowed that I would learn how to make really good gluten-free bread. And I do now. I make gluten-free sourdough bread quite frequently, and it's among the best you can find in the Bay Area, I swear. So that's become one of my big passions, and I'll share it with anybody who's interested.